Kid Cudi just dragged Jay-Z and Beyoncé into this messy Diddy's trial, and what he said they did to him was so shocking that even the judge became uncomfortable, and you're about to find out what he said. Kid Cudi walked into that courtroom like a man with nothing left to lose. He wasn't there for clout or to ride some trending scandal wave. No, this was different. This wasn't a celebrity stunt. This was personal, because what he said under oath didn't just make the room uncomfortable, it made the walls sweat. You could hear the air shift the moment he spoke those names. Jay-Z, Beyoncé, and the way he linked them to Diddy, it was surgical, cold, like he'd been waiting years to unload it all. And now the truth, or at least his truth, was bleeding across that courtroom like a wound that refused to close. It started quiet, controlled. The prosecution asked a few routine questions. Where were you on this date? Did you know Mr. Combs? Were you ever present at any of his parties? The usual warm-up. But then they asked the one question Cudi had clearly rehearsed in his mind 1,000 times. Were you ever pressured, coerced, or manipulated by individuals within Sean Combs' inner circle? And Kid Cudi didn't blink. He said yes, loud enough for the stenographer to flinch. And then, like someone snapping the seal on a locked vault, he started naming names. Jay-Z, Beyoncé. They were there, Cudi said. They weren't just guests. They were part of the system. The room stiffened. You could hear shuffling behind the prosecution table, whispers between legal aides. But Cudi wasn't done. He leaned in closer, locked eyes with the lead attorney, and dropped the line that would echo across every headline by morning. They made me watch. Watch what? That's what the judge asked. That's what the public demanded. But Cudi didn't answer right away. He just sat there, eyes glassy, lips pressed, like the trauma was crawling back into his throat. And then he said it. I saw people being used, broken, destroyed. I saw careers traded like currency, and I wasn't the only one. He said Diddy's parties weren't just parties, they were power plays, manipulation machines. And according to him, Jay-Z and Beyoncé weren't just in the room. They were playing chess, while everyone else was playing checkers. At one point, the judge had to call for order because the gallery gasped so loudly. That's how heavy it got. Cudi talked about rituals, about silence, about being told to shut up and smile if he ever wanted another album released. He said there were nights he left those gatherings shaking, questioning if the industry he loved was nothing more than a velvet-lined cage. And the names? He didn't stop at Jay and Bey. He mentioned handlers, gatekeepers, executives with too many secrets and too much power. But the three that kept circling back like vultures were Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyoncé. And it wasn't just hearsay. Cudi claimed he had receipts, texts, emails, even footage, sealed for now but submitted to the court under protective order. According to sources inside the courtroom, the judge reviewed the material during a closed session, and the word coming out? Disturbing. That's the exact term a court clerk used when they spoke, off the record, to a journalist who was present at the trial. What's more damning is the timing. Cudi's testimony comes just days after rumors leaked that multiple celebrities had suddenly left the country. Private jets, last-minute flights to Dubai, France, South Africa. Coincidence? Maybe. But with this trial sucking every ounce of attention out of the entertainment world, people are starting to connect dots. The theory? Some of them aren't just avoiding press, they're avoiding subpoenas. Now let's rewind for a second, because this didn't start with Cudi. The chain reaction began weeks ago when Cassie's civil suit exploded into a federal investigation. That pulled names, that rattled cages. But nobody expected Kid Cudi to speak. He's always been the quiet one, the poet, the introvert. But that silence, it turns out, was holding decades of trauma. And once the seal cracked, it all came pouring out. He detailed one party in 2016, a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, a guest list full of platinum artists and political powerhouses, and a back room, one with a red light, no cameras, and rules you didn't break. They told me it was initiation, Cudi said. I told them I just wanted to play my music. They laughed. He didn't name every participant, but he didn't have to. The implication was clear. Jay-Z and Beyoncé weren't just in attendance, they were facilitators. Not necessarily of anything criminal, but of a culture, a structure, one that fed off silence and demanded loyalty at any cost. And the kicker? Cudi claimed this wasn't just about music. It was about control. You don't understand, he said. These people don't want fans. They want followers, obedient ones. He compared the industry to a cult. Not in robes and candles, but in contracts and NDAs. He said the real currency wasn't money, it was access. And once you got it, you either played the game or you got played. Hard. After his testimony, the prosecution filed a motion to call more witnesses tied to that infamous party circuit. And guess who's reportedly on that list? Names like Usher, French Montana, Mary J. Blige, even some former bodyguards who used to work Diddy's events. The implication? This isn't just a case anymore, it's a reckoning. Even courtroom observers couldn't keep their jaws up. The collective gasp in the room wasn't just about what Kid Cudi said, it was about what it implied. One legal analyst, a 20-year veteran of high-profile celebrity trials, leaned back in his seat and muttered, "This is the most shocking celebrity testimony since Michael Jackson's trial." He wasn't being dramatic. This wasn't theatrics. It was the raw, gut-punch truth of a man unspooling a decade of pain, manipulation, and intimidation in front of the world. Another legal expert, this one a former federal prosecutor, went further. If even half of what Cudi said is true, this case is going to rip the mask off the music industry. We're talking systemic rot at the highest levels. But this isn't just a spectacle for tabloids or social media soundbites. This is a reckoning, a collapsing house of cards. What we witnessed wasn't just Kid Cudi airing out personal grievances. It was a chilling roadmap of silence, complicity, and institutional decay. Cudi didn't just describe personal trauma. He painted a portrait of an entire industry, one that enabled abusers, rewarded silence, and punished resistance. He named names. He recalled rooms filled with powerful executives who looked the other way. He spoke of parties where things happened that everyone remembered but no one dared mention. The elephant in the room had grown so large it had swallowed the room whole. And amid this storm, amid the raw testimony and the roaring public reaction, a deafening silence took center stage. Jay-Z, Beyoncé. Not a tweet, not a story, not a carefully worded press release. Radio silence. These are two of the most media-savvy, brand-conscious icons alive. People who never miss an opportunity to shape a narrative. And yet, when Cudi's bombshell testimony dropped and the internet detonated into chaos, they disappeared from the conversation. Which, of course, only adds gasoline to the fire. Because silence? In moments like this? That's not neutral. That's strategy. And the public knows it. When the biggest stars in the world suddenly go dark at the exact moment their names start surfacing in legal documents and court transcripts, the question isn't whether they're guilty. It's what are they trying to avoid? Let's be crystal clear, though. None of this, none of what's been said, alleged, or whispered, constitutes proof of guilt. That's not the goal here. This video isn't a courtroom, and we're not pretending to be a jury. Remember the disclaimer. These are allegations, testimonies, one man's recounting of events that shaped his life in ways most of us can barely comprehend. A version of truth that, until now, was buried beneath NDAs, power hierarchies, and fear. He says he lived through hell. He says the people we celebrate, the people we idolize, were not only complicit, some, he claims, were perpetrators. But in the court of public opinion, the tide isn't just turning, it's erupting. Comment sections have turned into investigative panels. Reddit threads read like subpoenas. Journalists who once shrugged off the rumors are now circling back, digging deeper. And insiders, they're starting to talk. Quietly, anonymously. But talk they are. Because if Cudi's testimony is even remotely accurate, it sets the stage for a massive unraveling. And if the trial continues on this trajectory, it's not a matter of if more names drop. It's a matter of when. Because Cudi's words weren't just testimony, they were a spark. And in a room soaked with years of suppressed stories and explosive secrets, a spark is all it takes to ignite a firestorm. So here's the question I'm leaving you with. If everything Cudi said is true, every name, every night, every silence, who's next? Drop a comment with the name you think might be dragged in next. Because if this trial has taught us anything, it's that no one, no matter how powerful, no matter how protected, is untouchable. The storm is here. And the next thunderclap might carry a name we never expected to hear.